Hey everyone, the stuck stuff is now unstuck. So there's two things that I got unstuck from this engine. Well, three things. The first thing we got down here, I got the ball races out of the steering neck. So this one on the bottom is a little bit taller, and then this one on the top is a little bit shallower. I got to clean them up yet, but I ran my finger across them in a couple of spots. It seems fine. Like there's no great big groove where those balls were running around. I knew I could get those out. I just tapped them out with a long punch. But the other thing you can do is you can just heat up this piece of metal here, this collar, and then they sometimes they even just drop out. But the other thing, which is a bigger accomplishment, is I got this piston loose. So the first couple of days it had WD-40 in it just because it had snow in it, and what WD-40 is a water displacement formula. At least that's what I've been told. So for about 9 days I had PB Blaster in it. This is my favorite penetrating spray. It works great. I wouldn't use anything else. Go ahead and argue what your favorite is down in the comments, but this is what I use. So just a quick overview of the difference between a two-stroke and a four-stroke engine. One of the biggest differences between these is obviously the amount of strokes the engine has, but this is a air-cooled engine and that is a water-cooled engine. That's what all the fins on this are for. That's why the cylinder head has all these fins in it. So I'm going to start with the four-stroke engine because it's the more common engine. So like your car, unless you drive a very specific Mazda, is going to be four-stroke. So on this engine, the piston is down here in this section. And if you want an inside look at this, check out my big bore installation video series. It'll show you all the guts of this. So the piston is down here, and then this entire thing right here is the cylinder head and the valve cover. So there's a little combustion chamber right here, and then there's valves, and then there's two cams. On the other side there's a chain that drives it, and then right underneath this cover there are these rockers which go from the cam back here to the valve out here, and they push the valve down or let it up. So that it's a complicated design, but it produces cleaner emissions and it's usually more efficient. So that's how that works, very basically. The four strokes are intake, compression, power, exhaust. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. So it brings air-fuel mixture in, compresses it, ignites it, power goes through into the engine through the transmission to the rear wheel. It comes back up again, and there's exhaust. Now over here, your intake and compression and your power and exhaust are combined a little bit. So as that piston goes down, you've actually got oil in your fuel air mixture for lubrication for the engine. So as it goes down, it's power and intake in the same stroke. And then it gets all the way down, it starts coming back up. You have exhaust and compression in the same stroke. So once it clears the, let me get some light in there. Once it clears those ports, once the piston's above those ports, you're no longer pushing exhaust out. You're compressing your air-fuel oil mixture, and then it ignites it and it goes back down in a intake and power stroke. Now, what happens because of that is there's always unburnt fuel in the entire exhaust system. That's why these two strokes smoke. And then when you're compressing it, there's always some leftover exhaust in the compression cycle and when it's ignited. So you're always mixing that stuff together. You're always pumping raw gas out. They're never a perfect complete burn. So that's the basics of how it works. And then, like I said, this is air cooled, so it's just taking heat away through these fins using air, versus that is using a coolant to remove heat from the engine, and then air blowing through the radiator removes the heat from the coolant so it can go back to the engine and take more heat out. So that's the basic difference between these two. And then, yeah, like I said, I got the bearing races out, and then this is going to go away once I get this thing registered and street legal, because I don't have the key to that, and I don't want to modify that neck because the government gets twitchy when you do that. That's because that's how bikes are identified. Yeah, there's a little bit of rust in there. It's not bad, it's surface rust, and I think if you took one of those, people call them dingle balls, I don't remember the exact name, you could probably clean that up. So this is probably a usable engine, which is great news, because whoever buys this off of eBay or Adventure Rider will have an engine that could possibly work. So next I'm going to take that engine out, and then I'm probably going to start taking the rear end apart, because I know I need bearings for that rear wheel whether I use it or not. And then over here, this front end I've got taken apart and taken loose. I need to fix the bolts for that fender brace, and then that I'm sure needs brake work and potentially bearings too. So the next episode, I'm thinking we'll probably be doing some stuff with wheels. So make sure you're subscribed. I'll keep adding to the playlist as I get stuff done. So thank you for watching.